सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Good evening, welcome back to the third session of this Upanishad series. So today we are going to see the topic, what is Upanishad? So if you remember, we are very systematically unfolding, and this is the third introduction session. And with this session, we will conclude the introduction. And from next week onwards, we will start the essence of the first Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. So in our first session, we saw the why, the what, and the how. Why do we need to learn Upanishad? What is Upanishad on a high level? And then how should we learn Upanishad? That was the whole discussion topic. Why we need to learn Upanishad? Because each one of us seeks happiness and contentment. There is two ways to seek the happiness. One is from the outside sources or from the sense objects, which is known as Vishayanandaha. Another source is from within, called Atmanandaha. We understood the difference between these two and the strategical importance or logical importance of finding happiness within, because if you are dependent upon something or somewhere or sometime, that's all subjected to change. So if you want to get this atyantika dukkha nivritti, niratishaya sukha prapti, that means infinite amount of contentment, if it is outside, it's always subjected to a risk. So it's better to seek the happiness within. And why means how can we seek that happiness? We saw that to know our own self or to understand ourselves properly. To understand anything or to know anything, we need a means of knowledge. And that means of knowledge is the Upanishad. We also discussed the fact that we need to employ appropriate means of knowledge for the appropriate knowledge. We had a lengthy discussion that I cannot find the taste of an object with my eyes. So for understanding the taste, I need to use the tongue. For seeing the names and forms and colors, I need to use my eyes. For hearing something, I need to use the ears. For inference, I need to use my intellect. So just like that, what is that means of knowledge that helps me to see myself? And Upanishad is that. And how should I study the Upanishad? There are 3 steps. One is called Shravanam, second one is called Mananam, and the third one is called Nididhyasanam. So listening and understanding the teaching, then connecting the dots and removing all the doubts, and finally contemplating upon that or removing all the habitual thinking about the non-self. And in our second session, we talked about a brief introduction about Vedas. What is Veda? It is apaurusheyam. It is not born out of human intellect. It was there always, even though it is started documenting at certain point of time. And the Vedas are documented. It is the revelation, or it is that inspiration of the rishis, and they are not the authors of Veda. They are only discoverers of the Veda. That is why we call them as rishis. And whatever they whatever that got revealed to them, they started teaching. Some people started documenting as poems. Some people started documenting it as prose. Some people started documenting it as or communicating it as in the form of a song. So later point of time, sage Vyasa or Krishna Dvaipayana, he collected all these teachings, compiled those teachings into 4 books. All the Padhyatmakam teaching, right? All the Padhyatmakam teaching, he compiled into Rig Veda. All the Gedhyatmakam, he compiled into Yajurveda. All the Ganatmakam or the song form compositions got compiled into Samaveda. And finally, a mix of all comes in Atharva Veda. So this 3 forms means that's why Veda is called as Tri. And what is the subject matter of this information got revealed? Mainly talk about 3 things: the Jiva, the individual; the Jagat, the universe we live in; and the Ishvara, that higher power which governs the Jiva and the Jagat. So we talked about that. And also we found that each Veda is divided into 4 sections. First portion is called mantra.
What is window?
Mantra. And the second one is called, if you're not speaking, you can put in mute so that it won't be a disturbance for others. Okay. Mantra, which is, we spend some time, right? What is mantra? Mantra means it is, or samhita, that is the real name of that section. Samaharati iti samhita, that which is collected. And we said each of these mantras are praises of the divine. When you talk about the divine or the devata, don't think that it is the absolute, because the absolute cannot be described in a mantra. So what the rishis did was, they conceived one aspect of that infinite and tried to visualize that. That is what is mantra. Then the second portion is called, what is the second portion? Mantra. Anybody remember it? Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. So Brahmana means how these mantras can be used in rituals. How these mantras can be used in worshipping Ishvara. That is Brahmana. So the same mantra which is in the Samhita portion is taken, and a certain order is prescribed on worshipping the god. So that is what is Brahmana. Aranyaka means how that mantra can be used in a meditative form. That is Aranyaka. And finally, the last portion is talking about pure knowledge. It is not mantra, it is not Aranyaka, it is pure knowledge. What is the nature of you? What is the nature of the world? What is the nature of the Ishvara, the reality? And to understand also, we said, the root of the Veda is dharma. We spend a lot of time in understanding what is dharma. Vedokhilo dharma moolam. We elaborated on that topic, and we also understood what is dharma, because there is a wheel which connects the whole universe into one set of governance. You could see that law from the microcosm to the macrocosm, right? You can see that in the big planetary bodies, and you can see that same law in the atomic world. You can see the order or the law in the physical object. You can see that order in the physiological world. You can see that in the psychological world. You can see that in the social world. So this is what is the order. And this order or these laws are known as dharma. And the one who governs this order is Ishvara. So understand what is dharma and what is Ishvara. And when I say that I'm a dharmic person, what I'm basically trying to do is I'm understanding this dharma and getting aligned with that dharma. And the basic dharma, you don't need to study Upanishads. That's where I quoted Mahabharata. What is the basic dharma? Whatever you don't want from others, don't do to others. Atmani pratikulani, right? Paresham na samajare. This is the root of the dharma. But the details are elaborated in the Vedas. And also we talked about the shakhas of the Vedas. The Vedas was broken into different shakhas. Each master, when he communicated to the different groups, the different branches got formed, and there were 100 and at least 1130 shakhas are there. Maharshi Patanjali has one version, and Muktiko Upanishad has a different number, but it doesn't matter. We know that 1000 plus shakhas are there. This is what we saw. Now, we are going to leave all the mantras. We are going to leave all the samhitas. We are going to leave mantra or brahmana or aranyaka, and we are going to talk about Upanishads. That's what we are going to talk. So today we will give a general introduction to Upanishad, and from next week onwards, we are going to start talking about the actual Upanishad. So let's get through this, and we will have the Q&A at the end. So with that, without any further delay, let's get started. Let's start with what is Upanishads. So this is a fascinating study, Upanishads. Upanishad has fascinated not just the Indians or the people who are born into that tradition. This Upanishad, by the greatest scholars of the world, it represents a great chapter in the human history. If you want to understand the human history, there is a beautiful book called Sapiens. You might have read this. It's a very popular book. So you would see, right, when the human race came to the earth, you can see millions of years back, but you can see that only in the last 70 years, human being came onto the top of this living being. Before 70 years, we were really, really behind, because in terms of strength, we are nothing. In terms of the power, we are nothing into the living beings. We cannot fight with a lion. We cannot compete with an elephant. We cannot run like a cheetah. Nothing, right? But still, we got into the top of the living beings. How? Because of our thinking. Because of our ability to use our intelligence. This super fast development of the human intelligence happened in the last 70 years. And this development of the intelligence led human beings to some fundamental questions. The world is not a utilitarian value for them, right? If a piece of paper lies in the road, if a cow walks, it will come, smell it. If it is good for eating, it will take, otherwise it leave it there. It doesn't inquire why, what, and how. But that's not, the human beings are not like that. We want to know the details. So when the human beings looked around the world, we had all sorts of questions. From where the whole thing came from? What is my role? How the universe functions? And different individuals started inquiring into different minds. Some people went into the external world and tried to understand this, and that became physics. Some people went into pursued different means of inquiry. But in ancient India, in the Indus Valley civilization, the greatest sages of the humanity, they took this inquiry, who am I, as a highest priority of their life. And whatever they could discover is Upanishad. And that is why it represents a great chapter in the human history. Look at you and me. We all like Vedanta. We all like everything. But when things get prioritized, this get into the bottom. Correct? When I need to prioritize a Vedanta study class versus a movie, sometimes I prioritize the movie. But these rishis, their number one priority was this inquiry, right? And they pursued, and whatever they could find, they documented it, and it cannot be challenged even now. That shows that power. This thought dominated the whole Indic kind of philosophies or darshanas or whatever you call for at least 3,000 years. When I say 3,000 years, it doesn't mean that Upanishad came 3,000 years back. At least we have documented history. Means it is 5,000 years, but we have definite documented history of 3,000 years, much before Christ, right? And this teaching expounds that wonderful relationship between the human being and the absolute. See, this is not like we are thinking about a God who is sitting above the clouds. No, this is the pinnacle of the human intelligence and inquiry. So that's what we are going to see. But please understand that this is something noble, something great. So what is Upanishad? Upanishad is the end portion of the Vedas. We have seen that last week. That is why it is known as Vedanta. So this section of the Veda that reveals the knowledge about you, me, and world, meaning me, the world, and Ishvara. That is what is Upanishad. And that is why it is called as Jnana Kanda. And one Veda, how many Vedas are there? 4 Vedas are there. Each Veda can have multiple Upanishads. So the relationship is one to many. One Veda can have multiple Upanishads. So please, here afterwards, please don't say that Vedas and Upanishad. If you go to Amazon, you will see 100, means at least 20 books, Vedas and Upanishads, which is wrong. One where Upanishads are part of the Vedas. And finally, these Upanishads are presented in the form of dialogue between a student and a teacher. Now, the date, the number of Upanishads, and the authorships. First of all, hundreds of Upanishads were there. 1,000 Upanishads, right? Each shakha may have different Upanishads. We don't know. As of now, we know 108 Upanishads. And all the scholars agree that the Aitareya, the Chandogya, the Kena, Taittiriya, Brihadaranyaka, Isha, and Katha Upanishads are the oldest Upanishads. We don't know when. Oldest means we are not talking from the knowledge contained in the Upanishad, because that knowledge was eternal. But when it is documented, that is what we are talking. These Upanishads are the first documented Upanishads. And this Upanishads represents the Vedanta in its pure form. Why I said that? So Vedanta, strictly speaking, it is the end portion of the Veda. That means it is Upanishads. But what happened was, after these Upanishads, means a lot of sages started studying these Upanishads. After that, additional teachings started popped up based on the teachings of the Upanishad. And broadly, loosely, we call those teachings also as Vedanta. For example, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, strictly speaking, is not Vedanta because it is not the end portion of the Veda. Bhagavad Gita is not a Veda. So Lord Krishna, when he taught, he based his teaching, or he borrowed his teachings from the Upanishad. So that is why it is called Vedanta. Maharshi Badarayana, when he composed the Brahma with Brahma Sutra, it's not Veda, but still it is based on the teachings of the Vedanta. That is why it is known as, again, Vedanta. Shankaracharya, when he wrote these Prakarana Granthas, they are not Upanishads, but they are based on the teachings of the Upanishad. Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, Aparokshanubhuti, Panchadashi of Vidyaranya, all that will come under the Vedanta category. But what is the purest form of Vedanta? That is Upanishads. And this, without doubt, is the first spiritual compositions in the universe. There is nothing. Oldest book in the universe, oldest spiritual book in the universe is Rig Veda. So that's what it is. Authorship. These rishis never bothered to put a signature at the bottom of their composition. Modern days, the first thing we do is we will put the signature. They never put that. So we don't know the authorship. And only thing we can infer is some of these sages, like it says, sage Yajnavalkya taught to Maitreyi, right? Means Shwetaketu taught to somebody, Aruni taught to somebody. That's all we know. We don't know who is the actual compiler. We don't know who actually compiled it or composed it or written down. So number of Upanishads, honestly, we don't know. The date, honestly, we don't know. Authorship, honestly, we don't know.
Is
It doesn't matter.
Session, being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You can see that in the live. The authorship, we don't know. So these are some of the interesting facts. Let's continue. So that covers the above Upanishad. Now let's go to the interesting portion. What is the meaning of the word Upanishads? Sanskrit is a fantastic language. Obviously, every word, the meaning is given by the word itself. So there are three possible meanings for the word Upanishads. So Shankaracharya defines these three meanings in the commentary of three Upanishads. Mundaka Upanishad, Kathopanishad, and then Mandukya Upanishad. He defines the meaning of this. Sorry, Katha Upanishad, Mandaka Upanishad. Yeah, three Upanishad, he defines the meaning. So let's understand that. So give your attention, understand this because this is so beautiful. What is physics? It's the name of a subject matter. Chemistry, it is the name of a subject matter. It's not one book. When you say a physics book, yeah, that book contains physics, but the entire physics is not contained in that book. So Upanishad, for Shankaracharya, it is the name of a subject matter. What exactly physics represents? It is a subject matter that talks about the physical universe, isn't it? Physics is a subject matter that describes or talks about the various physical objects in the universe, how they interact, the laws that governs them. This is what is physics. Think through this. This is what is physics. So like that, if there is a body of knowledge that represents all the knowledge about yourself, who are you? What is the nature of you? How you are connected with the entire universe? What is that laws governing your own self? That is what is Upanishad. This is a brilliant way of expressing it. So even though we call each Upanishads are Upanishad, we call one book, Isha Upanishad, as Upanishad. That it's like a book is called physics book. A book on mechanics is called physics book. A book on electronics is also called physics book. A book on what you call the quantum mechanics is also called physics. Like that, it may not be the entire physics, but it's physics. So each of these Upanishads are going to represent a subject matter which is the true nature of ourself. This is very important. So the word Sad here indicates absolute. And the word Ni represents definite. And the word Upa, see, Upanishad is Upa plus Ni plus Sad. The word Upa represents nearest. So the word Upanishad can means what is the nearest in me? I can say that this computer is near to me compared to the car lying outside. I can say that this pen is near to me compared to the computer. I can say that this shirt is near to me compared to the pen. I can say that my body is near to me even compared to the shirt. I can see that my mind is even closer to me compared to the body. So if you go to that level, what is that thing? which is the closest in you, that is the real you. Ni means definite. Sat means existence. So what is the closest existence, the definite knowledge about the closest in you is Upanishad. Once again, definite knowledge, not a wrong knowledge, not a confusing knowledge. The definite knowledge about the closest in you is Upanishad. First definition. This is a beautiful definition. I love this definition. The definite knowledge about myself, because myself is the closest in me. That is the first definition. So let's go to the little bit complicated definition. So let's go to the next definition. This definition is in the Mundaka Upanishads. This is a beautiful definition. So Shankaracharya, again, we have to thank Shankaracharya for all these wonderful definitions. So if you go to the Panini grammar book, the word sad has another threefold meaning. It called Visharana Avasadhana Gamayati. There are three meanings. Don't worry about Sanskrit. I'm going to explain this. Okay. Visharanam, Avasadhanam, and Gamanam. These are the three possible meaning you see for the word shad. Means another way of dicing and slicing it, right? These are the three meaning. So now, not to complicate you with Sanskrit, I will just give Shankara's original definition, and I'm going to just talk about that in English, right? So Shankara tell, Ya imam brahma vidyam upayanti atma bhavena shraddha bhakti purasara sanda tesham avidyadi garbha janma jara rogarthyanartham bhagam nishadayati parabrahma gamayati karma atyandam avasadayati iti Upanishad. Don't worry, this is just to say that this is how he has defined it. It's beautifully defined. So let me explain that or paraphrase that. So he tells, right, there are three words. The first word is shad, the second word is upa, and the third word is ni. So ni means definite, upa means nearest, no change. The change is on only the other word. So what exactly it is? So he tells that which definitely gives you the Brahma Vidya, the truth about the universe, that which leads you to the truth about the universe. How? That is why I quoted the Sanskrit. Atma Bhavena. So you are going to see the reality of the universe, Atma Bhavena. Where exactly you are seeing the reality of the universe? In yourself. You are going to see yourself as the truth of the universe. You are going to see that you are nothing but that highest reality. So, ya imam brahma vidya upayanti atma bhavena. So that which leads you to the truth of the universe in the form of yourself. And then he said, you visharanam, you are going to wear out something. What? All the impurities of the mind. So that teaching, which is going to take you to the truth of the universe, helps you to see yourself as the truth of the universe. And that teachings, which removes all the impurities from you, and that teaching, which puts an end to all your suffering, that is what is Upanishad. In one stroke, he took the three possible meaning of the word shad and created a definition. That is the beauty. So this definition contains every possible meaning of the words in one stroke, in one sentence. So in other words, this teaching will give you the highest knowledge. This teaching will help you to find the truth of the universe. And this teaching will help you to identify yourself as the truth of the universe. This teaching is going to help you to shed out all the sufferings you have. This teaching will help you to remove all the impurities from you. That is what is Upanishad. This is the best definition of Upanishad. This is in Mundaka Upanishad. This is Shankara's definition. So beautiful. Once again, the word shad has three possible meaning, and the word upa is the nearest and ni is definite. So that teaching which takes you means the word gamanam came in. That will teaching which take you or help you to know what? Upa, the nearest. Ni, definite. So that teaching will give you that definite knowledge about yourself in the form of Brahma Vidya, and that teachings which will help you to remove all impurities, Visharanam came, and that teachings which will put an end to all the suffering, Avasadhanam came in. So don't worry about these linguistics, but look at the power of the master in the language. So whatever definition Panini has given for that word, Shankaracharya used it. This is the second definition. One more definition. Okay. So this class is going a little bit deep. So if you have any doubt in following, or if it is going a level that is beyond, please raise during the Q&A. We are going to adjust it. And we are going to clarify it. So the third meaning of the word Upanishads. So it can mean from two perspectives. One perspective is from the perspective of a student. One perspective is the perspective of a teacher. So if you take the perspective of the student, then Upa word means you have to approach a teacher. Upa means what? Close. So you have to get closer to a teacher, a competent teacher. How? With ni. Ni means what? With nischaya, with determination. Determination of what? I want to learn this teaching. So you need to go to a teacher. So ni, upa, ni means with determination. Shad means sit at the feet of a teacher. Because why? Literally means you sit down to the teacher so that the knowledge will flow. In other words, you surrender to the teacher. In other words, not the teacher, but to the teaching, so that the teaching will flow. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna defines this, right? In the 4th chapter. Tat vithi pranipadena pariprashnena seveya, right? Upadeshyante te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. So you need to approach a teacher with determination and surrender to that teaching. That is what is Upanishad. This is the most common definition you might have heard about Upanishad. Sitting and learning under a teacher. This is possible one more definition. Now, if you interpret this term with respect to a teacher, Upa means you are bringing this truth of yourself near to a disciple. You are imparting that knowledge. You are taking that knowledge closer to a disciple. That is his commitment. Whereas the commitment of a student is what? Getting closer to a teacher. Second thing is what? With conviction. Whereas for a student, it is determination. So this is how Shankara interprets it so beautifully. So with conviction, the teacher has to teach. And what exactly the teaches? That will destroy avidya, and that will take you to the Brahma Vidya. Remember that three possible meaning. Visharana, Avasadhana, Gamanam. And third one is take you to the Brahman, remove all the sufferings, and remove all the ignorance. So this is the third meaning. So these are the three different possible, in fact, four, if you want to say, different interpretation of the term Upanishad. But you can interpret in different way, whatever way you want. Is these, means, can you say whether these definitions are contradictory or complementary? All of them are only complementary, because all of these definitions indicate Upanishad as what? The truth about yourself. That's it. The truth about yourself. Just like physics represents the truth about the physical universe, Upanishad is a subject matter. It expresses the truth about yourself. That's what the Upanishad. Okay, so let's proceed. Now, the role of a teacher is very important in our scriptures, because if you read the translation, you will get confused. For that matter, if you just read Veda, you will get confused. It needs to be systematically taught by somebody who has learned it traditionally. Traditionally means, I'm not saying that you need, don't think that it is very much you need to wear the orange robe, nothing, but you need to study properly through. There is the beauty of the Vedanta or the Upanishad is its teaching tradition, the teaching methodology, the teaching styles which the masters have imported. Right? That's how it is. It is known as sampradaya. What is sampradaya? Daya means what? Daya, given, right? You give. Sampradaya means a special type of giving, this teaching. And sampradaya means what? You give it in such a way that you ensure that the other person knows it. So that's why all these teaching methodologies has been devised. So Vedanta is there, but on top of Vedanta, there is a fantastic teaching methodology. There are so many tools and methods like Dridrishya Viveka, Avastatraya, Panchakosha. All these are teaching methodologies. Swapna Drishtanda. And what makes our culture very unique is because of this teaching methodology. So these Upanishads are composed in the form of dialogues, just to indicate that it is better to have the dialogue. Monologue means you may interpret something else, right? And create chaos. So you can see dialogues between Varuna and Bhrigu. You can see Sanat Kumara and Narada. You can see Yama and Nachiketa. You can see Aruni and Shvetaketu. You can see even Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya. So it doesn't matter whether you are men and women. It doesn't matter which caste you born. No problem. This teaching tradition is available to all. Of course, some people took this as their private property and created a mess. But if you really get into the teaching tradition, this is universal. So because this is, many teachers had many dialogues with students, there are many, many Upanishads. So that's the role of a guru. And if you continue, if you elaborate on this topic, who is a guru? I'm sorry. Yeah, who is the role of a guru? The role of a guru, if you look at the Guru Stotram, the role of a guru is clearly mentioned. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshinam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Stotram is a beautiful hymn which talks about the glories of the teacher. So here I salute that teacher who helps me to understand the truth about the universe. What is the universe? Akhanda Mandalakaram, the truth about the universe, the reality or the truth. Akhanda, it's undivided, all-pervasive reality which is behind everything. And that truth, by whose grace I come to know, that is the teacher. See? So what is the scope of the guru? The knowledge of the scope of the guru is the entire universe. So don't limit the gurus as international gurus or anything like that. Nowadays, a lot of people use us like that, right? It is not international, it is the interstellar or whatever it is. The scope is that much. When you add these type of adjectives, you're reducing the scope of the word guru. So this is guru. And the Upanishad tells 3 things, right? The guidance of a skilled teacher is important in the study of the Upanishad. Very important. And what is the skill? Shotriya, Brahmanishta, Akamayaha. This is the 3 skills a teacher needs to have. Right? Shotriya is what? He has to have good skill in communication, good skill of teaching. Brahmanishta, the one who is established in the truth, or at least doing the effort to establish in the truth. Akamayaha, no hidden agenda other than teaching. So you should take, that is the qualities of the guru. And blessed are those people who can find such teachers in their life and directly interacting. So this is the role of a guru. So once again, the second topic is, we talked about 3 definitions. Definite knowledge about yourself, that is number 1. Second definition is that which gives you the truth of the universe, and that which helps you to identify yourself with the truth of the universe, that which removes all the impurities from you, that which removes all the sufferings in you. That is known as Upanishad. The third one is that body of knowledge or that information which helps a student to go and find a teacher and surrendering to him, gaining what knowledge he gains. When a student go to a committed teacher, go to a committed or a skilled teacher with determination and surrender, then whatever he gets, that teaching is known as Upanishad. Also, a determined guru, whatever knowledge he imparts to a surrendering disciple, that teaching is also known as Upanishad. And the role of a guru is very important here. So that's the second topic. Let's go to the final topic. So now, we saw that there are 108 Upanishads are there. Should we sit and study all these 108 Upanishads? No, it's not practically possible. So out of 108, 10 Upanishads are considered as the most important Upanishad. And they are known as Deshopanishad, or in English, they are known as principal Upanishads. And that's exactly what we are studying. Why these Upanishads? Why these 10? Because these Upanishads put together gives a complete picture of the vision of the Upanishads. You don't have to read the entire books written on physics to understand, or the entire book written on relativity to understand the relativity. You may have to read 1 or 2 or 3 books. That's it. So now, who selected these 10 Upanishads as the most important Upanishads? First one is Maharshi Vyasa. In his Brahma Sutra, he analyzes or talk about these 10 Upanishads. That is why we consider these Upanishads as the most, these Upanishads covers the vision of the Upanishads. And later Shankaracharya wrote independent commentaries for each of these Upanishads. So these 10 Upanishads were commented by Shankaracharya as separate commentaries, Bhashyam, and analyzed by Maharshi Vyasa in his Brahma Sutra. And these Upanishads are popularly known as Dasha Upanishads. Dasha means 10. 10 Upanishads. So Vyasa wrote analyzed this in Brahma Sutra. Shankaracharya analyzed this in his commentary. And that is this, we found that these 10 Upanishads gives the vision of the entire Upanishads. Now, what are they? This is the definition of these 10 Upanishads. So, there is a sloka, popular sloka. It tells, Isha kena kata prashna, munda mandukya paitiri, aitareyam cha chantukyam, brihadaranyakam dasha. If you learn this, you can learn all these things. So, Isha Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Chandokya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. These are the 10 Upanishads. Now, this diagram, right? So, Vedas as a body of knowledge, it's one. And from the perspective of the book, remember, last week we said it was divided into 4. Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. So out of these, how exactly these 10 Upanishads are distributed? Most of you would have thought that Rigveda has maximum these Upanishads. No, Rigveda has only one, which is Aitareya Upanishad. Yajurveda has, in fact, 4. The Yajurveda is divided into 2. One is called Krishna Yajurveda, the other one is Shukla Yajurveda. That's a big story. I'll tell when it comes to the Upanishad, how the one Veda itself is divided into 2. The story of Yajnavalkya and all those things, we'll talk at that time. It's a very interesting story, especially the Taittiriya Upanishad. We will tell that story. So out of that Yajurveda, you have the Katha Upanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad under the Krishna Yajurveda. Under Shukla Yajurveda, you have Isha Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So under Samaveda, you have Kena and Chandokya Upanishad. And under Atharva Veda, you have Prashna, Mundaka, and Mandukya Upanishad. So a lot of people think that the Atharva Veda is not a good Veda, etc. I heard even people commenting, but you can see Mandukya Upanishads, which is one of the most popular or brilliant Upanishad. It is from Atharva Veda. A lot of people don't even know. And even the Shantipada of the Atharva Veda is so brilliant. Bhadram Karnebhi. So this is how these 10 Upanishads are distributed. So you have 1 from Rigveda, 4 from Yajurveda, 2 from Samaveda, 3 from Atharva Veda. So 4 plus 2, 6, 6 plus 3, 9, 9 plus 1, 10. This is how the 10 Upanishads are distributed. So that covers the topics I wanted to cover today. So let's do a quick summary. Upanishad means it's the portion of the Vedas. It means the Vedanta is Upanishad. And we said there is no date, there is no time, no definite time, no definite authorship, no definite count. How many Upanishads are there? All these are unknown. And this is probably the brilliant compositions of the human intellect. It marked some history in the human evolution. And we also talked about the second 3 or 4 meanings of the word Upanishad. It is a definite knowledge about myself. And we saw the 3 possible meaning of the word Shad, Visharana, Avasadana, Gamana. So we understood Shankaracharya brilliantly how he coined all these possible meanings into one sentence and one definition. In the Mundaka Upanishad Bhashyam, he tells that. And this Upanishad typically studied under the guidance of a master, otherwise it is difficult. And there are 10 Upanishads, and we saw how they are distributed. So that's what I wanted to cover today. So with that, I can stop the live and we can go to Q&A mode. Before we stopping the live, Bhuvanaji, if you could just do the closing prayer, then we will do the Q&A.
Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shantis Shantis Shantihi. Harihi Om.